On Essay in Friendship, there was little of the disciple in Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Up to 1913, when he was 36 years old, he had never attached himself to any human being in love or friendship. He liked to relax in the drawing rooms of the rich Parsis in Bombay. He could bow and make extravagant compliments to ladies, and he liked laying down the law to the young when they came to him for advice, but he discouraged intimacy and was still a celibate introvert, timid of human relationships. In 1913, he seemed to emerge from this chill armor for the first time in his devotion to Gopal Krishnamurthy Gokhale, the Hindu leader, a man who was as faultless as Jinnah in both ethics and virtue. Gokhale had been born in 1866 of a humble Brahmin family. He must have been a fascinating as well as a strong character. He graduated from Elphinstone College, Bombay, and in 1884 he dedicated his talents to a long venture. He agreed to become professor of history and political economy at Fergusson College, Pune, at a nominal salary for a term of 20 years. After 1902, he began his splendid political career, and 2 years later Lord Curzon honored him with the CIE in recognition of his selfless patriotism. In 1906, John Morley wrote of him, "He has a politician's head, appreciates executive responsibility, has an eye for the tactics of practical common sense. He made no secret of his ultimate hope and design, India to be on the footing of a self-governing colony." The article on Gokhale in the Encyclopaedia Britannica fortifies these judgments of his character. Gokhale's intense patriotism, powerful grasp of facts, and great industry raised him head and shoulders above his contemporaries, and his moderation, invariable courtesy, and lofty personal character marked him out as one of the last and greatest of the old school of Congress politicians before the age of non-cooperation. Jinnah the Muslim and Gokhale the Hindu had liked each other from the beginning. There was no conflict between their minds, and they were not held apart by suspicion. Gokhale said of Jinnah, "He has true stuff in him, and that freedom from all sectarian prejudice which will make him the best ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity." And Jinnah said that it was his one ambition to become the Muslim Gokhale. They both needed a holiday from their ideals and their labours, so in April 1913 they sailed for England. Gokhale was then almost 47 years old. Jinnah was 36. There are neither letters nor diaries to tell what these two men talked about as their ship carried them towards England. Mrs. Naidu vaguely estimated that the Arabian stars and Egyptian waters kept record, doubtless, of their mutual hopes and dreams for the country of their devoted service. The word holiday was alien to Jinnah's busy mind. During the visit to London, he added 2 important chapters to his story. He helped to create the London Indian Association, and he made a surprising decision by agreeing to join the Muslim League on the eve of his return to India. The problems of the Indian students in England in 1913 were more complicated than they had been when Jinnah was studying law at Lincoln's Inn 20 years before. In the 1890s, there was but a small Indian colony, mostly sons of noble, rich or privileged families, and it had been easy to admit them to the English universities and inns of court. Being few, they were an innovation, but not a problem. By 1913, Indians were migrating to England in big numbers, and they were beginning to use English education to sharpen their temper against British rule. These cryptic subjects of the King-Emperor brought their politics into the silence of England's ancient places, and the intrusion was resented. With their politics, they brought also their caste system. Instead of meeting socially and enjoying their adventure in scholarship, they divided themselves into many little groups, each with its own hobby horse. There were grievances on both sides, and to avert folly, some Indian leaders and their English friends met and formed the London Indian Association. Their aim was to remove restrictions imposed upon Indians wishing to enter the universities and Inns of Court, also to acquire a central clubhouse in which the students could meet for debates and social pleasures. The association lasted only a few years. It perished for want of support from the Indians themselves, but the failure of the plan does not lessen the interest of Jinnah's speech, his first in England, at Caxton Hall on June 28th to an audience of several hundred Indian students. He recalled his own years of study at Lincoln's Inn, and then reminded his listeners that the caste system, the bane of India, was to blame for the lack of friendliness among the students themselves. He was, as ever, coldly honest. He told them that one of the first tasks of the proposed association should be to get rid of the exclusiveness that was spoiling their chances of learning the best from England. After scolding the students for their isolationism, he upbraided them for meddling in politics. Instead of behaving as students and learning all they could of the civilization which the British people had taken centuries to build up, some of them had resorted to strong language and strong action in political issues. Jinnah reminded the students that in India, the men most active in politics were those who had been educated in England and who returned home to serve their country. But he warned them that politics were dangerous fireworks in the hands of the young, and that only by avoiding strong language and hysterical ideas could they hope to go back home as great missionaries in the cause of progress. The moral of the speech was conventional enough. The phrases did not shine, but they confirmed Jinnah's regard for what England could teach, and his belief that scholarship should come first and politics after. "To take part in politics," he said, "will simply injure your position as students." The rest of the summer was spent in leisure. Gokhale and Jinnah may have travelled to Europe, or they may have wandered through England. Little is known of these months, except that, since they remained together, they must have continued to enjoy each other's company. The conciliatory tone of their political conversations is suggested in Jinnah's last action before he sailed home to India with Gokhale in the autumn. Two Muslim leaders, Maulana Muhammad Ali and Syed Wazir Hassan, who were in England at the same time, were among the many who regretted that Jinnah had always refused to join the Muslim League. They called on him and reminded him of the decision made on March 22nd to bring the policy of the League into line with the progressive and national aims of Congress. They argued that Congress and the League now spoke with the same voice, and they pleaded with Jinnah to join. He agreed. There is no record of the scene except a short half-page by Mrs. Naidu, who wrote, "Jinnah formally enrolled himself as a member of the All India Muslim League, to whose expanded outlook he had already contributed so signally by his example." Typical of his exquisite, if somewhat exigent sense of honour, is it to find that even so simple an incident partook of something like a sacrament. His two sponsors were required to make a solemn preliminary covenant that loyalty to the Muslim League and the Muslim interest would in no way and at no time imply even the shadow of disloyalty to the larger national cause to which his life was dedicated. The year ended in a unique victory for Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He returned to India with Gokhale, and in December they went to Karachi for a meeting of Congress. Jinnah allowed himself to be sentimental at the beginning of his speech. He said, "You do not know what pleasure it gives me to stand on this platform in the city of Karachi where I was born." The members interrupted him with cheers. Then he went on, "Where I have found by me personal friends with whom I played in my boyhood. I am delighted to see so many of my Sindhi friends who are here." At the age of 37, he was back high his hometown with the glow of success, but also with the rewards of wisdom. His decision in London to join the Muslim League was justified in one of the resolutions of Congress during the session. The members placed on record their warm appreciation of the adoption by the All India Muslim League of the ideal of self-government for India within the British Empire, and of the belief which the League had so emphatically declared at its last session that the political future of the country depends upon the harmonious working and cooperation of the two great communities. On his way from the meeting, Muhammad Ali Jinnah may have walked along the street where, as a boy, the astrologer was said to have told him that he would grow up to be a king. But the astrologer no longer scratched prophetic patterns in the dust with a stick. He was not able to stop Jinnah again and make the alarming prophecy. Your pledges of harmony will be of no avail. 34 years from now you will come back to Karachi as a king, but to achieve this your countrymen will divide themselves against each other. In the process, hundreds of thousands of Muslims and Hindus must perish. Neither Gokhale nor Jinnah could envisage any of this. They returned to their hotel in perfect accord of heart and mind. Golchulpi had said that Jinnah would become the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity, and this day in December 1913 made the phrase seem almost true. Jinnah's position was now trebly secure. He was a member of the Imperial Legislative Council, a member of Congress, and of the Muslim League, to whose expanded outlook he had contributed so signally by his example. Writers of the future may argue, according to their temper, whether good fortune or brilliant political planning had brought Jinnah to this happy state of being trusted by the leaders of both communities. Had he designed a safe political career over the years, or was he really sincere in his belief that the Hindus and Muslims together might still make a united and free India of their own? One of his oldest friends in Bombay, Sir Kawasji Jahangir, who had known Jinnah when he was 25 years old, has answered this question. He has said, "I knew him when he first arrived in Bombay. He was more of a peacock then than in later years when he was successful. I can assure you that he was sincere about Hindu-Muslim unity. It was no political trick. Indeed, I can say that whatever faults he had, political trickery was not one of them."